This is Lynn Schrader with KHI, and this is our afternoon session. And I'm getting some feedback. So Kathy and Jared, if you would mute your microphone while I'm talking.
Yep, hold on. Okay. All right, we're muted.
All right, sorry about that. All right, it's not muted, or Kathy, you're connected with another phone or something.
Then we're going to mute right now.
Well, okay, let's give that a shot. Sorry, you guys, for the technical difficulties we're having. It's down at Wellmark. So let me just say that this session, and I'm going to mute my microphone, so I'll let them talk, and hopefully everything will come through fine. This is our afternoon session for Q on the small group. So this is going to be, how do I do a quote in the small group market? We had our individual one this morning, and we will have both of these sessions posted to our website. It should be by the end of the day or first in the morning. So I wanted to go ahead, and I'm going to pass it on right now to Kathy Gillespie and to Jared Nickel, and they're going to walk us through how we do this from the Wellmark producer website. And go ahead, you guys, and I'll hit mute.
Good afternoon. This is Kathy Gillespie. And as Lynn said, we're going to go over this small group quoting queue. And really, I'm just going to pass this off to Jared, who's going to go through it for us. And then at the end, we'll open it up for questions.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. And thanks, Lynn. Hopefully, you guys can hear us okay. Sorry for the feedback. And Lynn, jump in if it's not coming through correctly. Maybe we can reconnect and try again. But yeah, like Lynn said, we're going to try to get through a small group quote today, and then show you how to revise that quote. And then I think we'll have time for questions, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go into the Q training environment. All of the Wellmark producers, you guys should have access to the Q training environment. You don't want PHI information in here, so don't enter social security numbers. If you do, come in here and practice. If you're a new agent, it's a great place to practice, and you won't break anything. Just a quick overview. So here's the dashboard of Q, and before we get started, you've got a lot of different widgets here on your dashboard, and you can change those by clicking here in the dashboard settings. You can add and drop the widgets based on your needs, and you simply do that by pulling it down to your dashboard, or remove them by hitting the X. You re-click dashboard settings and it goes away. So the focus today is on small group quoting. So we're going to go to activities. That's where you start all your activities in Q. You've got your recent items, new quote. You can do a direct enrollment on the small group side. So if you didn't want to start from a quote, you already had the group quoted and they already picked their plan, you can direct apply and enroll on the small group side with this link right here. On the small group side, I think it's easier just to start from a new case. We're going to go new case, small group, and start entering in that basic small group case information. We've got a bank today that we're going to quote, a commercial bank. And address is not that important yet. City going to be 52314. That's over in my home neck of the woods, Mount Vernon, Iowa. Vernon put the zip code there. So Mount Vernon, Iowa, zip 52314. All those pieces with the red asterisks are required. SIC code, you'll note, does not have a red asterisk, but it will be required down the road. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in at this point. You can either browse or enter the SIC code if you know it. We're going to go to financial insurance and real estate, Division H, depository institutions, and commercial bank. So pretty quick to find the SIC code if you don't already know it. And we'll go to State Commercial Bank. Original effective date, you don't have to enter that in there for new business. Current carrier, if you know current carrier, the system will start tracking who the current carrier is, but it's not required. Primary contact information would simply be like the Director of Human Resources, someone at the account that who's the primary contact information, because you can email that person quotes down the road. You can enter their email address and have them set up to email a quote to that primary contact. At this point, we're just going to save, move forward. And I picked this county because what Q wants is a county, not necessarily a zip code. So in certain scenarios where the zip code crosses multiple counties, you've got to go in and pick the correct county. All through ACA rates are based on the county. Now we've got case information built. If you want to edit any of that information we just entered in, it's kind of tricky. Go to Case Information tab, highlighted there in blue, and then it looks like you're editing your own profile, but that's actually the case profile. The Edit Profile link, and it'll take you back, edit that information. The small group side, you try to think about, okay, what do I do next year? And remember that the New Business tab is where quotes and enrollments live in Q. So you've got to go to that New Business tab next. Now you can create a quote, or again, direct imply. You want to create a quote. You put on small group quote, quote. Then Q is going to ask, okay, you want to show defined benefit, which is simply an offering of 1, 2, or 3 plans. And you're going to pick which ones you want to offer, or do you want to see the packages, the predefined packages of plans, A, B, and C, package of 5 plans. If so, you pick defined contribution. We're going to pick defined benefit, move forward. And now we've still got to build out the quote profile. So it's pulling forward some of the demographic information. So now we've got to enter what's the effective date requested for the group. And this should allow 90 days out. So right now it's October 5th. We're in the training environment. If we were in production with Q, it wouldn't allow these prior effective dates. So just to note it would only allow 11, 1, 12, 1, and 1, 1 at this point. So you can't get into Q and see some of our 2016 plans and rates. So let's assume we're just going to quote a 12-1. Again, we're trying to show a group of Wellmark's ACA small group plans and rates. Something that's new, we're defaulting dental and vision on our quotes. So what Q is going to say is we want to show dental and vision along with the health, so it's defaulting to that. If you don't want to show those, this is where you uncheck dental or vision and not show those offerings. Average employee count. So what's the average lives on business days in the previous calendar year? So we're still in 2015. So the previous calendar year we have is 2014. So once you start quoting like your 7-1 next year, that's when you'll start entering 2015 as the average employee count year, because you're actually quoting in 2016, so your prior year will be 2015. We've got a full 2014 for using that. We're just going to do a small number of employees today. Just quick, we need to do your question. All of this information is required. The number of eligible employees versus number of eligible employees enrolling. It's my thought you just make these equal, for your quote. And on a new business, we don't have any participation requirements. So I think what it used to be trying to get to is a participation, but we don't have any requirements on our ACA for new business. So we got to make sure that we've got at least one common law employee, because that's the definition of a small group. You have to click yes there, otherwise it's not going to let you proceed. So we've got one common law employee. If we wanted to quote by class, department, we could. We could check that and then give us some options. You can also add a unique class or department that the group has set up today. We don't want to add a class or department for this scenario, and we're just going to hit continue. Next up is the census. So the nice thing about Q is it gives you a little progress report. Lets you know where am I at, how far left do I have to go. We're done with the quote profile. We still have census plans, rates left before we can generate the proposal. So on the census, what I'm going to show you today is we're going to enter employee number 1 and 2 because it's going to be simple. I don't really want to have to save a file, pull it back in. But note that right off the bat, you can come down here and export your census, get the template that you want, and put your employee data into the template and import it back in, especially on your groups when you've got more than 7, 8, 9 lives. That can be really helpful. And a best practice might be to enter employee number 1 even, and then export it. Then you've got number 1 employee, and you've got more of a true template of what Q's looking for. Because you've got that 1 employee added, and you can export it at that point. So let's go ahead and add. So as for gender, we've got a male, born May 1st, 1975. Whoops. 75. It pre-fills the age. This is an employee, and the status is active. Here's our different options: over and active, retiree, seasonal. It does ask for the zip, but it's not required. And truly, you don't really want to enter that in for a quote. Email address. You only want to enter the email address if you want the employee to eventually enroll online. So if you enter the employee email address here, Q is going to start thinking that you want to email employees a link for them to complete their enrollment. So at this point, all you need is their date of birth. Quote. Next we've got female. Let's make her born in May as well, but 20 years later. These employees, she's also active. Now we've got 2 employees in here. Let's say that our first employee, this male born in 75, he has a spouse that we'd like to add to the plan. So what you do is you come over here, you mark him, and you can see now it allows you to delete or add family members. We want to add a family member, just 1, to that individual. So now it adds a drop down. We can add his spouse. For a spouse, and that's all we need to enter for the spouse. Okay? Notice that if you look at the census, the row is like number, like family. So this employee and his spouse are both called number 1. So when you create your Excel file census, you've got to make sure you have that same logic on your Excel file. That's what the import's going to want. So like number, like family. And we hit continue. Even though we said 2 lines, it's 2 eligible, you can add additional lines. So you put 2 eligible on that quote profile screen. Next step is to pick the plan. Just scroll down, list all the available plan options by network type. So we got PPO list first, POS plan, HMO, and it does list SSA boards distinctly, so you guys can easily recognize those. You can quote all the plans, but you can't pair a platinum and a bronze. And there should be a new enhancement in Q that allows you to quote platinum and bronze together, but it'll give you a warning that you're not able to enroll platinum and bronze together because of that guideline limitation that Wellmark's got in place. That's for the defined benefit plan. Here's our option. Go through, and let's say this group wants the top seller. Top seller at Wellmark for ACA is this complete blue 3000, the PPO plan. In 2016, we're going to call that a PPO as opposed to a B plan. If you check it, come over here, and there's a green add button. Add to selected plans. That's how you get it selected for your quote. So now it's in the selected plans profile. We also want to show this group the blue 1000 gold. We're going to come down here, another PPO plan, a little bit richer plan of gold. Let's add that to the quote too. We think these two plans best match what they have today. So we're going to start here. Now it shows us we've got these two plans selected. So you can do a quick comparison. It'll line up a side-by-side comparison of some of the benefits. And you can actually print this off. You can do this for up to 3 plans, side-by-side comparison. Notice it adds some of the plan detail PDFs. I think some agents do tend to use something like this for their quote, but it's not going to give you member level rates yet. A little bit different than individual, you actually have to click to the next page to see rates. We've got these two plans selected. We can delete them off if we want to, add additional. You can also, if these two plans are the ones we show 75% of the group, you can also create a favorite of this quote. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Move forward. Getting close. So next piece is show us member level rate for this small group. See what it's being close. There we go. Big commercial bank. Rate page. We've got the 2 plans and then view member rates. And this just pulls up a snapshot of what the rates are. So I encourage you guys to pull this up and make sure it's looking correct. These little blue triangles, if you click that, you'll be able to see the spouse. So here you go, it's that employee and spouse, and it adds those 2 up to get to the 645. So it's got rate there. Then you click on the Enhanced Blue 1000 Gold, same thing, view member rates, and see the rates for those 3 live on that plan. When things look good, you can continue. Otherwise, if you look at rates and say, man, those are too high, those are too low for this group, doesn't make sense, you can hit previous and go back and pick new plans. And continue. Nice thing about Q is as you're going through this, since we've got a case built, Q will save every screen. So if you got interrupted by a phone call right now, got timed out of Q, Q would have this saved through the rate screen because we've clicked continue on the rate screen. We can only get timed out. We've got a case built, saved. Okay, we've got our proposal ready to go. Q gives you some proposal options, so you can pick what you want to send this group. Make sure that the detailed census is checked, because that's going to provide the member level rate that the group's going to want to see. I'd also recommend group summary, benefit summary, SBC, detailed census. I'd click pretty much everything. You wouldn't have to send the SBCs if you didn't want to, but my recommendation is group summary, benefit summary, and the detailed census. You can view a preview of that before you send to the group. You can email the primary contact at the group. We would have given that an email. Email that primary contact just by clicking that button. Otherwise, we can always come down here and say, Jane at Iowa Commercial Bank, put her email in.
Jared, can we go ahead and view it? Let us see what that looks like.
Yep, we can. The reason I haven't put in is because sometimes we get tied up with that in the training environment. So let's go ahead and try it. Hope it works. Pop the proposal. And it worked. There it is. Good. Preview exactly how it would look going to the group. Summary, total premium, summary, list the network type and the benefit side by side. And here's the detailed census. Like I said, you need to have this checked or it's not going to show those member level rates. It shows total premium. Yeah. Okay. So you could save that. You could X out. It'll take you right back to Q. Keep going. Send the proposal. Save the quote. So if you didn't want to send a proposal, you just want to have this quote ready to go. Maybe you sent them the rates a different way. You wouldn't have to. You can enter an optional message there. So again, Q allows you to send emails directly from the system. So I think some agents like that. Some agents, they just want to send it to themselves, and then they'll forward it to the employer. It'll have your contact information on, but the sending address is noreply@wellmark.com. So that's why you can send things from Q. I think a lot of agents just want to send to themselves, and then they can forward it from Outlook. So it truly looks like it's coming from that. Okay, when you save it, it takes you back to the quote summary. Quote for this group. Options are to withdraw, enroll. And since we can also generate proposal, etc. Something that we can do, on the individual side, is create a case note or message. If you think you're going to send 2, 3, 4 quotes to a group, it might not be a bad idea to create a note that says quote ID 5567, and it was the Complete Blue 3000 CPO, Enhanced Blue 1000 CPO. Add that in. And then you can always come back to these case notes and messages and have a summary of what quotes you sent. Because if you look at your new business tab, which again is where those quotes and applications live, it doesn't tell you much. It tells you the ID number, the type, the date created. You actually have to get into it to see what plans you quoted. But if you have multiple quotes, it may not be a bad idea to have a case note documenting that. Okay? You've got one quote done. Another thing you can do at this point is, let's say they came back and said, We don't want to see that goal, but we wouldn't mind seeing an HSA plan alongside that Complete Blue 3000. Let's take a look next at how you'd copy this quote, way to create an alternate from this. There's a variety of ways to search you. Let's go back to our dashboard. Assume we're starting on that. Got a call from the employer. We want to see the HSA plan instead of that goal. Good, find it here in our quote activity. So it should be listed there. You can see it's a small group by the multiple people. Gives you the quote ID and then State Commercial Bank. You can find it that way. Your quote activity widget. You can also find it in your recent tab. So if you know it's one of the 10 most recent items you worked on, you can click on this and it'll pull up the case. Or of course you could always do a case name search or an advanced search. And let's go into advanced search real quick. So here you can search by case name. My screen here is going to look a little bit different than yours, but put on here to additional criteria, activity criteria, new business quotes, and we'll uncheck individual and family. Uncheck these other options we don't need. Small group quote, you can search by a 12/1 effective date and see all of our 12/1 small group quotes we've done with Wellmark. You can also search by eligible, whether they're a prospect or if they're submitted. A lot of different ways to search and report on your business in queue. It may not be a bad idea to spend 10 minutes on that when you've got some activity built up in the queue. Play with some of that searching information. So we're just going to use recent, pull that quote back up, and we'll get another alternate out to that group. Okay, and to do that, come over here left-hand side and copy the quote. Click copy quote, and what do you want? Define benefit. Continue. Now we're going through the same process. One option we have is we can keep the current plans or pick new ones. I guess I'm a fan of just pulling off those old plans and starting from scratch. And it gives us a new quote ID, 2457. So none of this stuff should change. It's all pre-built for us. Nice thing about copying, you scroll to the bottom, hit continue. Census hasn't changed, but if it had, you can update that. You. And then pick the new plans for the quote. So they still want to see that 3000B. So we're going to add the plan. And then they also want to see HSA. I'm going to come down here, click over HSA option, and add that one to the plan. If we wanted to show dental vision at this point, we have to go back and select that as a quote profile. They come back and say, hey, I wouldn't mind seeing a dental quote from you guys too. Come back to quote profile, click the dental where we removed it. You have to go through and enter some of the eligibility for dental as well before let you add those plans. That's one of the reasons why we're defaulting those to included, because it's kind of a pain to add dental and vision after the fact. So it may not be a bad idea just to show your groups dental and vision ACA rates. If they don't want them, you can remove them at enrollment or for that alternate quote. Okay, we've got the two plans we want to show. Hit continue. So it's as simple as that, guys. You just find your quote again and copy it. Copy your quote, pick your new plan, continue. and send a new proposal. Or save it. Now we've got this new quote summary. Go to our new business tab. We should have two quotes in here. Yep. Now we've got 2457, 2456. We could go back and add another case note for the 2457 and say enhanced blue 3000 and the HSA plan. The thing I want to show you is case history. So if you're ever trying to figure out the status of a case, the status of an application, the status of a quote, maybe you've had someone in your office, multiple people working on a quote, this case history is really nice because it's basically a log of everything that's happened. So what the ID is, so what quote, what the date timestamp is, who did it, and what the action was. You can see in here, assign it to myself, generate a proposal, copied the quote, and generated the rates for that quote. This is where we're at so far with this group. Okay. So going back to the new business tab, this group wanted to start the enrollment. You don't want to use this button because even though we're in a case, the best thing you can do if you want to enroll one of these quotes, so if they truly want to buy both those plans that we've got, 2457, the Complete Blue and the My Blue HSA, view it, and then enroll the quote. Because then it pulls those plans forward, everything forward to enrollment. It's most efficient for you. So if you've got a quote that they bought, enroll the quote. Don't start the enrollment from the case level. At this point, you simply click Enroll. And you're going to verify you want to initiate the enrollment process. Yes. And again, it pulls those plans forward, so now you just say, yep, one sold, and yep, that one sold. We got a dual choice, and we're going to hit continue. And if something didn't sell, you could also not select it, and it wouldn't pull through to enrollment. The census and enrollment, there's a few new fields, but not many. So here's where we could enter the email address if we want an online enrollment. I don't think many groups at all have chosen online enrollment. But if you've got a group that's spread out, or they want the employees to make decisions from home, or what the process may be, Q does offer an online enrollment. You put their address in here, those employees will get an email where they can pick plans. Maybe it makes sense on like a defined contribution where you've got 5 plan options. Send them a link, and they can shop a little bit and pick which plan works for them. So Lynn, I'm not sure how far you want to go, but you can see the next steps here. You fill out the employer application, and you can email the employer rep. You can email a link to the employer rep, and they can fill the employer application out themselves. And once that's done, you can start the employer enrollment and the employee enrollment are the next steps. So again, you can have the employer themselves fill out the application through you. But I think most of the agents are getting that application built, employees enrolled in queue based on the signed paper form. So then you tell me how far you want to go. You want to keep moving, or you want to pause for questions? I think we we've got through the quoting and the revised quoting that we wanted to show.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of comments, and then we'll also take some questions. First of all, KHI has a census template for our agents to use. You don't necessarily then need to print off the one, that Jared was talking about in there. So just let Tricia, Nakia, Sarah know that you'd like that template. It's also on khiagents.com. The second thing is that KHI will enroll your group for you. And I think through Nakia and Tricia and Sarah, we've been kind of struggling through some of the electronic enrollment with you. And let us do that for you instead of you struggling through it yourself. Now, certainly you can do this, and I know, Jared, as you continue to, show us what they need to do with online enrollment, as you guys know, we've got our checklist out on our website about what you need. We have the employer application, and then they'll have usually the applications we want the employees to complete, because we do need to have whether they're waiving coverage, so that, especially if they're over 50, so that they've got documentation that they did offer coverage. So work with one of our staff. Just reach out to Nakia, Tricia, or Sarah, and let them know if you've started a quote or you've got any questions. But definitely when it gets to the enrollment time, reach out to us so we can kind of walk you through how to take care of that most efficiently. Okay, I'm seeing if there's any questions here. And while you think about if you have a question, I also want to comment, just like we said this morning in our individual session, Q does not let you modify an existing proposal. You have to create a new one by using the copy function. So you're going to copy the proposal that you just delivered, and just like Jared showed you, then modify it and send it out from there. So every time it needs to be changed or modified, and I know this can go back and forth several times. Somebody says, take my spouse off, now add my spouse. Add this employee, now take this employee off. So at different times you'll have multiple changes perhaps, and that means multiple proposals.
Yep, good point, Lynn.
Well, I'm looking and I'm not seeing any questions or any hands raised. You guys can type your questions in the question box, or you can raise your hand and I can try to unmute your microphone. And I see that Tricia and Sarah are both on the call. If you guys have any comments or want to add anything, please, raise your hand or type a comment and I'll read it for you.
Yeah, as we wait for questions, one thing I can show is we do have listing a grandfather or a grandmother group with Wellmark, community agent of record. We do have this group lookup tool where Q will pull Wellmark's existing system and pull in, build a case for that grandfathered, non-grandfathered group, so you can quickly go into Q and show ACA rates. And the one thing that we heard was like to make this lookup process available this year. So it's first available last year, and a lot of you guys probably looked up your groups to show them ACA rates. And that process is available again this year. And last year it was a one and done. This year we are allowing multiple pings, if you will, on the same group. So while we want to encourage you to use the copy quote, so you look up your group, you pull it in, it builds a case, you quote in that case. Most of other quotes just copy the quote, so it's all underneath one case, as opposed to pinging multiple times. Just because I think it's more efficient for everybody if we just have one case with multiple quotes versus 4 or 5 different cases out there for the same group, if that makes sense. So all you need to look it up is the group number and the account key. Both of those are on the eSmile renewal. Again, if you're the AOR, you should be able to pull in that business for quick quoting.
That's a great point, Jared. Thanks for that. And also want to make a comment. I still don't see any other questions here, but please ask your questions if you'd like. But Wellmark made a big announcement today. There was a broker alert that came out this morning that said Wellmark will be on the marketplace in 2017. And Jared, correct me, and Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is individual and small group, correct?
Yes, I mean, we haven't come out with anything else than what you saw today, and I really don't know beyond that, but unless the rules have changed due to the fact we have of what % market share we have in the state, the old rules were that we have to offer both small group and individual. We just can't do one or the other. So I just want to preface that with unless that rule has changed, because Wellmark hasn't officially given any more details than what we did this morning.
Okay. Well, that's big news, and I have to say I'm not surprised knowing that a lot of the clients will need to move to ACA, the individuals anyway, 1/1 of 17. So I'm glad you guys will, it looks like you'll be on the marketplace then. All right, well, if I don't see any other questions, so I would just invite our KSI agents to get a hold of our office if you have any questions, or get online and play with it and generate a quote, and that'll help kind of see if you've got any other questions, or play with that proposal, etc. So it's really slick, and I would encourage you to get really comfortable with it, especially in preparation for not only our 12-1s and 1/1s this year, but into next year, where we think people will really start to be looking at their options and looking at moving renewal dates and all that kind of stuff. So Jared and Kathy, unless you have anything else, you want any closing remarks?
Just what you said, Lynn. I mean, you can't break it. So for anybody, maybe a new agent on the phone or somebody who just hasn't been in queue, you can go out there and you know, try to do a quote as many times as you want, and you know, if you do it wrong the first time, no big deal. I mean, it won't affect anything at all to go out there and play in it and, you know, do new quotes. And the only thing is, if you do a lot of them, just remember they may want to go out and withdraw the quotes eventually, just so they don't have all that, you know, kind of junk sitting out there. But yeah, it's not going to hurt anything at all to go out there and just mess around, because that's the only way you really learn.
Yeah, I will say that the Q training site does refresh nightly. So anything you put in today will be gone tomorrow. So every day you're starting new.
Because they're not training, though.
In the Q training site. So yeah, great resource. Like Kathy said, you can't break anything, but there's no notification, and it refreshes nightly.
And you've got the Q links. You can see them right there, where you can actually access the Q system under Quote, Update, and Enroll, and then right under that was the Q Learning Tools, and that's where Jared accessed the Q training site, and you can access that as well. So.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, again, I don't see any other questions out there, so thank you, agents, for attending. Kathy and Jared, thank you so much, and we'll talk to everybody again real soon. We'll have this out on our website later today or first thing in the morning.
Yep.
Take care, everybody. Okay. Bye-bye.